Well, welcome everybody. It's 4 o'clock in the morning and the weather has turned in once again. The air pressure has dropped about 3 or 4 millibars. It's really not very nice out there at all. We are still at this moment in time safe, but after 3 days and 3 nights of this, I must admit even I will be happy to head back to the car once it's light enough to do so. I've already put Lassie's bag away there, and I've started putting a few bits into the dry bag ready, just a few, so that if necessary I can make a fairly quick getaway in the morning if necessary. My rigging in the door is keeping most rain out. Alright, well I'm going to put my head back down again because I've checked everything inside as best as I can. And I'm going to try and just close my eyes for a few more hours and then hope that the weather blows away and that this breeze dies down a bit. The forecast for Saturday, one I looked a few days ago, was supposed to be reasonable. Sunny intervals but rain as well. So we'll kind of see how accurate that was. That was a few days ago. Well, good morning. We made it through the night. The wind has gone, but it's still raining, and it hasn't stopped raining pretty much all night. Well, certainly from the early hours anyway. But at least that wind has stopped, so the shelter's not being blown about a lot. Okay, it's 9:30, so I really do need to try and get cracking. As I said this morning, because it's quite a long drive back home. I started sorting a few bits out last night, not a huge amount, but most of my power packs I've put away. I've still got one more to go in. Surprisingly, probably because I didn't do very much video as such, I've not used as much power as normal. And because I was using my phone, the Apple Pro 13 Max thing, yeah, the battery on that's pretty good. Although I did notice last time that if you're videoing with it, I'm pretty sure that uses more battery than if you're just simply watching a film. So that's just one thing just to bear in mind. And as I haven't really been videoing with it, I haven't really need to charge it up very much. I did charge it up last night, but really yesterday was the only time, or the first time, you know, I started charging anything up. So I think I'm going to have a lot of power left over from this trip. All right, well, like I said, I'm going to start slowly packing up. There is a view. Luckily, because the wind has stopped, the rain's not trying to... I pitch right on a knobbly bit, but it's a nice but wet view outside. We can but hope that the rain will ease off later. One thing I was going to say and talk about was when the door was because that started off as the door originally. So originally I was at the back and that was the door. Then that became the door, and I was at the sort of near the back, and then this has now become the door, and I'm now at the front effectively. But when I was originally pitching, I was thinking I'd be sleeping towards the door, which was over that way, but it wasn't until after I pitched that I realised that where I'd actually pitched and where I would have been sleeping was this big knobbly bit here. And it was primarily that dictated that I needed to go to the back. And given that the weather turned and that everything just inside the door was getting wet the other day, it's a good job that I did go to the back. So it all kind of worked out very well in the end. I just wanted to briefly show you inside the pack. So I use my airbed. This is a frameless pack. So this is what I do. I put my roll mat or my sleeping air mat at the back as a frame, and then I just stuff things down, you know, gently so that it's as soft as possible against the back. So I don't put anything pokey this way. I try to do things lengthwise going up that way, and that effectively forms you know, the back system. Just my wet stuff, which I will put on at the last minute. I've still got my nighttime leggings on and my nighttime socks on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put those in a stuff sack separately right at the last minute, just before I put my wet stuff on, so I'm not in camp sitting around with wet stuff for longer than is obviously, you know, necessary, because once we get going we're going to pretty much get flying. Not too misty, so hopefully navigating shouldn't be too much of a problem, and we should better just concentrate on just going, because it should be a relatively easy, you know, walk back to the car, albeit an hour or so. But as you can see, it's still really quite miserable weather out there at the moment, which is just a bit unfortunate that, you know, our days down, our 2 trips to the Lake District have been like this. But, you know, it is what it is. It's autumn. It's given us ideas for next year, how to get here and different things like that, where to stop on the way up and different things like that. So it's not all bad. It's work, you know, it's teething things that we're working through. Well, we have managed to pack up some more. I did have to, without being too crude about it, I did have to whip outside super quick for a big job. I've been here 3 nights and 2 whole days. This is effectively the 3rd morning, as it were, and I never went. I think primarily because my body could see the weather was so awful. It was just doing everything in its power to prevent us having to go outside, you know, and to subject ourselves to more cold, wet rain than was absolutely necessary. But while I was packing up, it just got to the point where I just couldn't wait any longer, as it were. And once again, good job nobody around, because basically what I did is I stripped everything off. Well, when you're in the wilds, you've got to do these things sometimes. And I just put this wet raincoat over, raincoat and nothing on underneath. And just went off and did what I had to do. Of course, it had to rain in the middle of what I was producing, as it were. So I wasn't gonna wipe my bum over there in the rain with soaking wet tissue. So I sort of walked back here and then very carefully, gingerly came into the tent without sitting down or anything, and then proceeded to cleanse oneself, as it were, inside. Mind you, with the amount of rain we've had, I could probably have a B-day here. I could have stuck my ass out the tent, the tent door, bum up to the sky. I would have cleaned my bum that way. Anyway, we are making some progress. I have now got all of my wet clothing on, so everything that is wet I'm wearing. I haven't got a single dry thing on. So my socks that were soaked, my trousers under my raincoat, I put them on. They were already wet, so I kind of figured they couldn't really realistically get any wetter, and it does at this moment in time look like it's stopped raining. So I've got my trousers on underneath. Obviously my waterproof trousers I've put on my top here. I've got that merino long sleeve top that got wet yesterday, and then my wet waterproof over the top of that. And now, of course, if I was going on to another camp, all of my dry stuff is packed away in dry bags, stuff sacks, plus inside, obviously that's a waterproof rucksack. But basically I've now packed everything, you know, that's dry is now packed safely, so it stays dry. In this instance, when I get back to the car, if I haven't dried out any, and if it stays dry and it doesn't rain, I stand actually a reasonable chance of drying out by the time I get back. Just the act of walking with waterproofs over the top might produce enough warmth that I just naturally dry out, maybe. I did put my underwear on, which is also wet, so that's the only part that might take, you know, a little bit of extra drying. But on the whole, if it stays dry, and it's not raining now, so I probably ought to get my ass going and move, you know, I might dry out enough by the time I get back to the car. But I will say, they are correct. Wet merino, you know, merino still keeps you warm even when wet. Now, I don't know what the temperature is, about 8.5 degrees, so not exactly balmy. The time is, it's just gone 10:30. I really do need to try and get a bit of a wriggle on now, so I've still got a few more bits to go in this pack, plus that walk back. Okay, well this is outside. Lassie's obviously over there waiting to go in the water. We've got everything packed in the pack. I've started taking some pegs out, but I thought I would just show you how wet it is around here. Oh, I've already taken that peg out, that one there. So you can see it's absolutely, ooh, that peg was in. That peg was in good and tight. Some of them come out really easily. Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna carry on and collapse this all down. Obviously that's just gonna be rolled up. That's the ground sheet. All right, well we did have a super quick stop. We haven't taken any packs off or anything like that. But I just wanted to, well, just keep an eye on Lassie. She has to have a splash, of course. For those of a nervous disposition, maybe look away now. Lassie, this side, Lassie. Lassie! Come on, that's enough. You see, for those of a nervous disposition, we are sensible enough to keep an eye on one mad dog. Oh, bloody hell, honestly. Oh, Lassie, come over here. Come on. Lassie, come on. Oh, God. All right, you can all check your heart your heart rates and your pulses and all that now. Oh, she's mad, isn't she? But you know, that's what makes a responsible dog owner. You keep an eye on the dog. To be honest, I think she would have backed out anyway. I'm sure she's got more than enough brains to know not to go any further. That's a bit on the deep side. Oh, you want to go any further? Like Lassie's saying, yeah, but Daddy, that's more fun in the middle. Sit. You're going to give all the viewers heart attacks. Yes, no, you're not going back in again. No, Lassie. No, you're not going back in again. No, that's enough. No, come on. Come on. Alright, anyway, that's a bit of a view for you. I'll tell you, the only real concern that I had this whole trip with all that rain was, would this bridge get washed away? And I was kind of pretty confident that whoever put the bridge there would have had the foresight to put it high enough that it wouldn't get washed away. But that was the only thing that was on my mind a bit. Lassie. Wow. Crazy dog. Alright, I'm going to get going. I'm going to get Lassie away from this water. Come here, come on. Come on. Come on. Alright. I think there's more than enough temptation. So I had my mitts, which I wore, and I put my warm gloves in a stuff sack. So if my hands did get cold, then I could have put my once my hands dried out, if they stayed cold, then I could have put those warmish gloves on under the mitts for some insulation. But as it happened, my hands, you know, they started to warm up quite quickly. All of me is quite warm now. The only thing that I will say is on the cold side, but not freezing, are my feet. Because obviously I'm just wearing my trail shoes, and obviously it's a bit on the cool side with all this water. And it also meant when there was a couple of streams that I had to go across earlier, very, very teeny weeny streams, it meant I wasn't worrying. There, you can have a play in that one there. That's a bit more Lassie friendly, but not quite so deep, is it? So basically here, you know, I can just walk across without worrying about obviously you're not going to flood boots on a little puddle like that, but you know, it does give you a freedom for crossing streams and things like that. That is quite the view through there. Look at that. Look at that river. Even now there's a bit of rain coming down. It's like that rain can't stay away for 2 minutes. Hopefully it doesn't come to anything. But anyway, we'll find out when I get back to the car what, if anything, has managed to dry out on me. It's a relatively easy walk back to the car. One, it's the same walk as last time. And two, it is, you know, until you go off path in the lakes, there's a lot of paths up here. Luckily, where I camp, I don't see anyone, which is a nice little bonus. Although I was walking back here just now, and two people walked past. So that's the first two people that I've effectively seen since I left the car, which is two people more than last time, because last time I didn't see anybody at all. Even when I got back to car, I don't think I saw anybody. Can't quite remember now, but yeah, that rain is coming down again. Okay, well, I'm feeling a bit hungry. I had because I wasn't worrying about the Trailstar, but because I'd already yesterday afternoon because the wind was just howling an absolute gale towards me and blowing rain in, I was just about to start thinking about moving the door when the door just flew open itself. I think it was just there was so much wind, I think it was putting pressure backwards and forwards on the peg. I don't think the peg itself came out, but I think the loop that went around the peg just flew off or something. I'm not quite sure what happened, but anyway, the door suddenly flew open on me because the wind came in at the opposite direction. Now, whether that would have happened with the sil nylon is difficult to say, because I would have been able to get the sil nylon door lower and potentially tighter. But this actually did prove quite an interesting test for the Cuban Trailstar. And I think I would still go along with my original advice to everybody, and that is still to get the sil nylon Trailstar. The Cuban is definitely a beast that you need to have some experience with, a lot of patience with, and an absolute real desire to have. I can feel my trousers starting to drop a little bit. I might have to rearrange myself in a minute. Oh, so we've got another nice little downpour here. Oh, I must admit, this has been an interesting walk. I won't be sorry this time to get back to the car. It's been a fun one, this one. Probably only about 10 people will watch it, but all those YouTubers who say they've been out in some bad weather and get like 1 million views for it. Bloody hell, I should have been here the last few bloody days. Jesus. Oh God. It's tested man and beast and equipment. If you can get through that, you can get through almost anything, I think, camping, to be honest. All right. I'll catch up with you later.